So here's the story. There was a sow who could not keep her children, and she sent them off to make their own fortune. And so the first little pig went and saw a man. He met a man on the street who was carrying a pile of straw. And he said, "Mister, can you please give me this pile of straw so I can build my house?" And he did. And so this first little pig built his house of straw, and the wolf came around. And the wolf knocked on his door and said, little pig, let me come in." And the pig says, "Not on the hair of my chinny chin chin." So the wolf said, "Well, I'm going to huff and puff and blow your house in." And that's exactly what he did. He huffed and he puffed and he blew his house in and he ate the little pig. The second pig was out walking and he met a man carrying sticks. And he said to that man, "Mister, can you please give me some sticks so I can build my house?" And the man gave him the sticks, and the little pig built his house, and along came the wolf. And the wolf knocked on the door and said, little pig, let me come in." And the pig said, "Not on the hair of my chinny chin chin." So the wolf huffed and he puffed and he puffed and he huffed, and he blew his house in and he ate the pig. Well, the third pig happened to meet a man carrying a load of bricks. And he had to ponder a little bit and decided that he was going to ask this man to give him the bricks so that he could build his house, which he did. And so the wolf came along and said, little pig, let me come in, not on the hair of my chinny chin chin." And the wolf huffed and puffed and puffed and huffed and huffed and puffed and found that he could not blow down his house. But the wolf thought he could outsmart the pig. So he said, "Well, guess what, little pig? I know where there's a wonderful garden of turnips." And you know, pigs love turnips. And the pig said, "Really, where?" And he said, "Well, it's at Mr. Smith's farm. Why don't I pick you up tomorrow and we could go and get some turnips together?" And the pig said, "Well, that would be wonderful. What time are you going to come?" And the wolf said, "Well, I'll come and pick you up at 6 o'clock. So at 5 o'clock, the little pig went to the Smith's farm and grabbed a whole mess of turnips and had it for dinner. And at 6 o'clock, there comes the wolf and said, little pig, are you ready to go?" And the pig said to the wolf, "Ready? I've been ready. I've already gone and come, and I've already had me a nice pot of dinner, of soup." So we all know this story. And it's not a story of three little pigs. This story is our story. And it's not really a story about building a house. It's really a story about how do we respond, what choices do we make when that wolf comes knocking at our door. So that wolf can be anything. That wolf can be problems and challenges in the form of relationships or health. It could be, we can choose to feel powerful or we can choose to feel like a victim. It's also a story about making those soul choices. And we all have a choice as to what it is that we're going to do, how it is that we're going to behave, how are we going to react, how are we going to move forward. Are we going to take the easy way and just grab the first thing that comes along? So when we come along and we see a choice that we can make, and it's a choice of straw, easy peasy, are we going to do that? Are we going to take the easy way, the path of least resistance, that path that is in the form of instant gratification? And sometimes I think, and it seems so easy. We want to do something, we have a goal, we have a plan, we have an idea, we set out, so we're doing all of our good work. We're proud, we're moving in the direction that we say that we want to go, and we take one step. And we meet something, we say something, and it's quick, it's easy. We think it might be, to use today's terms, low-hanging fruit, a quick win. But we might not really be tapping in to that soul choice, to that wisdom that is right where we are. It might be the easy thing. And so, because we are all time constrained, we live in a world now, it seems, where everything is fast. We don't have time to cook dinner, so we go to fast food. We go on Facebook and we play 60-second games. We heat up our food in microwave ovens. But when we are taking that fast route, we may be building our house out of straw that is going to collapse around us the minute the wolf huffs and puffs. That wolf doesn't even have to do a second huffing round. It will collapse the minute the wolf, our fear, comes up. Our whole house has collapsed because it's not sturdy. We might have taken that fast route. We always have a choice. And so because we have adopted that Mac Daddy of false beliefs, right, that we are not worthy, that we are not good enough. So what ends up happening is we may see a gate that's open. And a lot of people have gone through that gate. And we think, because we think we don't know, we think we're not worthy, we think everyone else has the answers that we want, because we discount our own inner brilliance, our own beauty, our own brilliance, our own God self. We discount it and think everybody else knows, and they're all going through that gate. And the gate is wide open. So we follow. We ask everybody else, well, what do you think? What do you think? What should I do? What do you think? What do you think? Does this sound right to you? What do you think? So we go through that gate, and what we find is that gate, that path, leads to a life of mediocrity. It's not our life. It's not our dream. We become unhappy. We become unfulfilled. We become discontent because we have taken someone else's path, because we are so busy wanting things either quickly and building our house of straw, or because we have bought into this idea that we don't know enough. We've forgotten that right where we are is the activity of the divine. And we need to choose to tap in to this idea of that God is right where we are. There is only one thing. That one thing is love, and that one thing is life. That one thing is joy. That one thing is passion. That one thing is aliveness. That one thing is the creation, the creator of all that is. And that includes us. And so everything we need to know, all the joy, all the passion, all the love, all the light, all the intuition, all the health, all the joy, we're walking the road of heaven, but we don't even know it, perhaps because we haven't chosen consciously. We've gone through that gate that's wide open. And we're following others, and that gate, as I mentioned, might lead to mediocrity. And we're not here to live a mediocre life. And so sometimes then we don't trust ourselves. We've bought into this idea that we're not good enough, that the time isn't right for us, our prime is past, it's too late for us, blah, 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 blah. This is continuing. Now maybe we've moved on to houses of straw. But that thing that will help us build a house of bricks might take a little bit longer. It's not necessarily, I'm going to say it's the easy and fun path, because really it's right where we are. But it might be that the masses are not on the path of spiritual recognition. The masses are not on the path of realizing that right where they are is the divine. The masses are not on the path to recognize and to be in touch with their own genius and their own brilliance. And that path is not through that open gate with the well-trod path. So we don't know what's behind that, what's on, that road less traveled, right? We may not know about the road less traveled, but the road less traveled might be our road. Might be the road that's going to allow us to lift off and experience and express our own glory in a way that until now we've only perhaps dreamed of, right? So, but we think sometimes we're the victim. We think sometimes we're the underdog. We think sometimes it's too late. I've tried and tried and tried and tried, and I've never succeeded. What makes me think that I'm going to be able to succeed again? We think we're the underdog, and when we think that way, when we adopt that belief, we make choices based on whatever's easy. We make choices based on the opinions of others. We make choices that are not based on our own inner genius, We don't make the choices based on something that's going to support us and build that house of bricks. We make the choices based on feeling less than, based on victim mentality, and those choices are not going to march us directly right into heaven. But let me tell you a story about an underdog. There was an underdog, and we know a lot of stories about underdogs, right? But this is an animal Sunday. So there's a story about an underdog, and for this breed, his nose was unlike any other nose. And he was rejected for his looks. He wanted to fit in. He was psychologically damaged. Do you know, he was lonely and depressed and sad. And then, one foggy night, this red nose, was able to guide Santa's sleigh through on Christmas Eve, delivering presents. He was able to leverage what he felt was a weakness into a strength. He was able to, in a way, if he would go on the lecture circuit, he was able to turn his mess into his message and recognize that what he viewed as a weakness was a strength, was his point of power and uniqueness. It differentiated him. It differentiated Rudolph from everyone else. But the path of the gate that's open is the one that looks alike. Everybody is the same. The mediocre reindeer. Rudolph was a magical, special reindeer. And we are all magical and special in our own way. There was another underdog, a burro this time, who was thought to be so docile that it was no good. And so it was pawned off on Joseph. And that docile burro would later carry Mary, pregnant with Jesus, into the city of Bethlehem. Another underdog. There's another underdog that didn't have a chance to become famous, that Muhammad chose to ride when that prophet went into the sacred city, the holy city of Mecca. There was a dog companion, an underdog, but a dog companion who was the companion of the prophet Zoroaster. There was a lowly steed that was in the front of the chariot that took the Buddha out of his parents' palace and into the world. And what about all the animals that were hunted that became wards of St. Francis? If these were people, and you would ask them, they would all say that they're misunderstood, that it's too late for them, that they want to experience some greatness, but they've tried and failed, that nobody understands them, nobody wants them. They may have not realized how great they are, and they might assess their greatness based on some external view of how they relate in the world. Well, that's a faulty view. That's a faulty belief system if we're going to assess our worth, assess our value based on what it is that we see others doing. That's not it at all. Because our path is our path. Our greatness is our greatness, unlike anybody else's greatness. And we want to make choices based on that inner knowing. That inner knowing that is right for us. Not somebody else's knowing. Not somebody else's path. Not somebody else's life. Our life. And so for that, we might need to bypass the first thought, the first suggestion that comes our way. That's going to build our house of straw. We might need to say no to even the second thing that comes our way, which is the sticks. So even though it seems like it's going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy, oh look, I've taken one step and already my prayers are coming true. And I'm going to say we want to accept every opportunity. But sometimes we know it's not right for us, don't we? We know, we have a sense, but we'll do it anyway. Because it's easy, or because it's quick, or because everybody else says we should. or this is the next big thing, or this is the next magic bullet. And so we go after something, and we're like, maybe now we're off of our own path of least resistance that's leading us to our own greatness, and we're now on the bandwagon of that mediocrity because we want to do what everybody else is doing, because we have this desire to fit in. So Dr. Ernest Holmes, founder of religious science, said this. He says, we are afraid of greatness because we are so tied down to littleness. We clutch the littleness anxiously and jealously, but so precariously to our hearts. It is essential to see beyond the littleness to something bigger. So the challenge to each of us is to be great enough to rise in love, in charity, and compassion through understanding and joy. So we need to rise up into our greatness. And we sometimes clutch that littleness too close to our hearts, because what is that littleness? The littleness, really, we might call it our comfort zone. The littleness is that monkey mind that's constantly chattering to us in our own voice, in our own language, telling us why we can't do something, why it is that we're not good enough, why we should not try, why it's okay to stay stuck and stay settled. And it sounds good, it sounds reasonable, it's logical. And we have everybody else, because everybody's going through that same gate that says littleness, comfort. Don't get out of your comfort zone. Let's not be too brilliant. Let's not really shine too much. Let's just be like everybody else. That's the open gate. And we're following along. And so we've clutched that littleness. We're clutching to building our lives out of straw and sticks. So we want to move away from that clutching of littleness and recognize that there's greatness where we are. But it's a choice. It's a choice. We're free to choose. We can choose the easy way. We can choose bricks and straw, or sticks and straw, or we can choose the bricks. We can choose instant gratification, or we can choose to delay. We can choose to recognize with almost every breath, or with every breath, that right where we are is the divine. Or we can choose to think that we are a separate, a body separate from everything. We can choose to know that we are brilliant and talented, that we are not defined by our past, we're not defined by the mistakes that we've made, or we can choose to be stuck and completely identify with our failures and even our successes, but thinking that that's who we are. We always have a choice. And so I'm encouraging us to choose that greatness, to choose the divine. Sometimes we don't know. We don't know how, and that's the time to remember that everywhere present is the one. It's God, it's source energy, it's the infinite, it's love and law, whatever it is that you want to call it. But with everything, there is, what do I say? I said it already this morning. There is only one thing. And that one thing is God. It's the divine. It's the beloved, and we are it. When we can choose to remember that, we rise up automatically from our littleness to our greatness. When we remember that our life, we are living and speaking and observing the world as God, as the divine. When we can remember that and forget about all the other stuff, we've automatically chosen greatness. We're automatically then building our house of bricks. And then, no matter what wolf comes to our door, we are solid and secure, knowing that that wolf is not the reality. The reality is that there's something better. The reality is that we've kind of invited that wolf by our mistaken thinking, and that we can send that wolf running by correct thinking, by anchoring our thoughts to that something greater that is right where we are. And so it is always up to us to choose. And I say, let us choose heaven today and every day. And so it is.